This is awesome. We have a good group today. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started, guys, just because there is just a lot of stuff to cover. Okay, my name is Tyson Haynes. I'm one of your Miami instructors with the board on the technology side, along with our other two technology instructors, Connie Nieto and Christy Denny's. What we're gonna go ahead and do today is we're gonna jump directly into commercial, specifically going through a breakdown on all of the commercial terms. We're going to look at all of the different sections in the MLS when it comes to commercial. And I've been with the board for 10 years. And what I want to make sure that I do is provide you guys with a lot of insight on what to look for when you're working with that investor or developer, especially when it comes to commercial land. We're also going to look at improved commercial as well as business opportunities today. The one thing I want to stress before we get started is we're all human beings. We're going to remember some of the information I go over today, right? So I want to make sure I mention that there is resources that I want to make sure that you guys have access to. Besides being an instructor with the board, I'm also the vice president of training and resource documentation. So what I'm going to go ahead and do real quick is I'm going to put into chat my link tree. Now that link tree is about you guys. So when you come into this link tree, what you're going to have access to is, of course, my contact information, but I have resources put together that is going to help you so that you can follow along later on in order to do a lot of these searches on your own time. And oh man, we still have a lot of folks still coming in. I'll try to put that into chat one more time so everyone has access to it. Okay, we still have people coming in. All right. What I wanted to show you guys real quick is a guide. It's a commercial resource guide that I put together. What it does is it combines all of your statistical data that will go into different types of commercial properties, including top areas where we have commercial purchases, as well as marketing solutions, and not to mention all of the videos when it comes to education, when it comes to all of the products that we offer. You're going to be able to find that here within my link tree by accessing this commercial resource guide. Okay, so I want to make sure I mention when you come into the guide and you want to find all of the videos, including today's commercial MLS 101 and the 201, go right here to page 12. Go to page 12, and then you're going to find all of the commercial videos, including a recording of the 101, the 201, our Working with Investor series, specifically covering opportunity zones. I'm going to go into that a little bit today. And we also have a video for RPR's Valuate system. So if you're ever working with a buyer that wants to buy a property and they want to figure out their return on investment, is it worth putting money into that property to maybe fix it? Take advantage of this video. What it does is it gives you that quick fix and flip calculation, as well as if you have a buyer maybe wanting to purchase 15 apartment units, it also has a long-term hold calculator as well. Last but not least, we also have the commercial RPR system that is available. It has amazing commercial product and services located right here. As I go down, if you are a commercial member and you're paying that additional access for commercial membership, please take advantage of page 13. We do have the R logo for commercial members, as well as the Miami commercial logo here. And you never know if you ever have a customer, right? Maybe a seller on the commercial side, and not to mention maybe a buyer on the commercial side. Take advantage of all of these amazing commercial flyers that you have access to in order to secure some of those deals. Okay. The other thing I want to make sure I mention is yes, today's class, the 101 and the 201, does go towards the commercial certification. And I have all of your information. You do not have to give that to me. I have all of your email addresses. I'm going to make sure that you guys get credit for today's class. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat one more time. We are 35 individuals strong here. Please take advantage of that commercial resource guide. It is all commercial and it has all of our resources in one easy to access commercial resource guide. Okay, guys. What we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to go directly to the main website, miamirealtors.com. And what I ask that you do is follow along, watch the screen, right? And then later on, go directly into that link tree. When you have time, watch that 101 and that 201 so that you can turn this into a more hands-on experience. Why I say that is when it's over Zoom, it's going to be very hard for you to follow along and take notes. My recommendation is to just simply watch for now and then do the videos later on at your leisure when you have some time. Okay. Now, I'm going to go right here into the Miami Gateway. And one very, very important thing that I need to show you guys is how to access your commercial product and services if you are a commercial member. If you're not a commercial member, do not worry. You're still going to be able to access Matrix, follow along today. If you take our commercial RPR class as well, which is a separate class, if you take that one, you're not a commercial member. Don't worry. You still have access to all of the commercial benefits, all of the commercial product and services in the MLS as well as in RPR. The main goal, if you're not a commercial member, you're thinking about a commercial membership, is if you want to upgrade, it's as low as 105 a year or up to 125, depending on your membership, if you're a realtor or realtor associate. If you do decide to upgrade to commercial membership, that's where you get to use the R logo in red, and not to mention our commercial marketing that we have within that commercial guide, as well as on our website. If you do decide to upgrade to commercial membership, you will have access in your top left panel. You're going to be able to jump directly into commercial product and services. Just want to make sure I mention that. Okay. So one of the exclusive benefits to agents that do upgrade to commercial membership is they're going to have access to a exclusive product and service called commercial member to member. What is commercial member to member? Commercial member to member will allow you, if you're ever working directly with a customer, for example, a buyer, maybe they're looking for a warehouse. Maybe it needs to be a 30-foot high ceiling, just as a point of reference. You go into the MLS, you can't find that commercial warehouse, maybe that flex space, office space. You're not able to find it on the MLS. Maybe you're going to other websites to find it. You can go directly into the commercial member to member system. There is listings in there that you might not find anywhere else. And you can also create a broadcast letting all commercial agents know whenever you have a want or need for a customer. If you're ever an agent that has a commercial listing, you can do the same thing. You could go directly into the member to member system and let all commercial agents know whenever you have a commercial project, maybe a listing for sale or for lease, using this amazing product and service. Later on, towards the end of the month, we will have a class specifically covering the commercial member to member platform, and you also do get commercial credit if you take that commercial member to member class. It is going to be via Zoom. I'd love to see you guys there. Another thing I just want to cover real quick is for both residential agents and commercial agents, we have another amazing platform called Deely. Deely is a template system. What I mean by template system is it will allow you to create a letter of intent whenever you're working directly with a commercial buyer as well as a residential buyer. What that's going to allow you to do using an LOI, That's going to allow you to clearly state the terms on what your customer is looking to do with that transaction. Now, a letter of intent is not a legal document unless it's attached and executed within a purchase contract. So one of the amazing benefits of that LOI is it helps make that deal run very smoothly. Just want to make sure I say that. It's going to help the deal run very smoothly when you're working directly with that buyer. And Dealy has amazing templates. If you are a part of a commercial brokerage and you have your own templates, you can upload your own LOI templates directly into the Dealy platform. And the best part is, as I said, it's for commercial and residential members. Everyone has access to this button directly into your gateway. Okay. Another thing, very, very important for my commercial agents to know that you have access to, which is Muni Code. Muni Code lets us know all of our zoning districts and specifically what we can do with different type of commercial land. What is our restrictions? What are our setbacks when it comes to commercial land? And if I'm looking at maybe commercial land where I can have an office space, I can go to MuniCode to know if that's the only use of that commercial land. Can I use it for something else? Is there an option maybe for multifamily? We're going to touch a little bit on MuniCode as we go directly into the commercial MLS system. So again, if you are a commercial member, most important that I mention this. As I said, I've been with the board for 10 years. I sometimes have commercial agents not know that you can come right up here and then switch your menu directly into your commercial dashboard so you can see all of your commercial product and services. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and get started, guys. We're going to go directly into the MLS, and the whole goal today is to demystify explaining all of the commercial MLS search sections, and not to mention going into analyzing commercial property and understanding the different types of commercial property. So first, we're going to go directly into the Matrix MLS system, and we're going to come right up here to the top left where you see search. Okay, now where we're going to be today primarily is in the following three categories. We're going to first start here where you see commercial land. What we're going to be able to do under that section is find land zones specifically for commercial use. That's going to be incorporating land that's available for sale as well as for rent. So if I have a buyer, for example, they want to buy a piece of land where we can build maybe several multifamily property, maybe a warehouse, right? Maybe an office space. I can find typically unimproved land. Again, unimproved means that it should just be land by itself. We can find that opportunity here under the commercial land section. Again, for sale or for lease. Right here, the next section that we'll go into in a little bit is commercial improved. Again, improved means that the land itself has been modified and there should be some kind of commercial property on top of it available for sale or for lease. Okay, I can find my special purpose property located here. I can find my office spaces. I can find my multifamily properties, 5 units or more. Anything under the commercial umbrella when it's available for sale or for lease, where the land has been modified, we can find that here under the commercial improved and industrial section. So I want to repeat something. That's if I have a buyer that wants to buy maybe an office space. Maybe they want to buy the physical location of a restaurant, or they want to rent out that location. I come here under this category. But if I have an investor that wants to not necessarily buy the location, maybe they're trying to buy the trade name of a restaurant, right? They don't want to own the location, but they want to own maybe the franchise. Maybe I have a buyer that wants to own the trade name of a restaurant just as a point of reference. They want to buy the rights to the marketing, the logo. I would go here under the section business brokerage. So again, business brokerage is typically where I can find where I have a owner of a business. They're selling the trade name or the franchise along with all of the marketing, including the signage, flyers. I go here under the business brokerage section. So we're going to go through these three categories today, including doing a CMA in the 201 at 11:30. I'm super excited. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started, guys. Again, my name's Tyson. I want to make sure I mention that. I know it says Samuel over here in the top right. You guys can call me Tyson, Samuel, Shamul, whatever you want to call me. I'll answer to all three of those. All right. Okay. So we're going to come over here in the top left corner where you see search. And then the first section that we're going to go into is commercial land, business, agricultural, and industrial. Okay. All right. So what I want to make sure that agents know is to take full advantage of the commercial MLS. Now, a lot of the fields, when a commercial agent adds a property into the MLS, a lot of the fields are not always required. So my goal is to not just demystify commercial real estate, but also give you guys best practices. That's the most important, is I want to make sure I give you guys the best practices in order to find commercial property, including land. Okay, Lucy had a quick question there. Can we still enroll to the 201 class happening this afternoon? Absolutely. Now, you might be blocked. If you go directly to the website, miamirealtors.com, you might be blocked as far as registering. I'm not sure what the cutoff time for that would be. What I would do is I would just between class, there's going to be a good little 30-minute window between this class and then the second class. What I would do is contact the education department. I'm going to go ahead and real quick, I'm going to put their telephone number into chat. That's going to be 305 468 7066. Just let them know that you want to register if you have not for that 201 class. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to start very slowly. We're going to start very slowly. I want to make sure that you know how to look for land based on square footage size as well as by acreage size. Why do I say that? It's very important to know how to search by square footage when it comes to commercial land, especially when it comes to zoning districts. I'm going to cover zoning districts briefly. There is a class where I do a deep dive on zoning districts. That class is called the MLS Land Mastery, where we go into individual cities. We see exactly what we can build. I'm going to do a little sample of that. But the main goal, why you want to know how to search by square footage is, especially if I have a buyer that wants to purchase maybe a piece of land where we can build multifamily units. It's very important that I search based on the lot size, either by square footage or by acreage size. Okay. Now, before we start searching, I do have some recommendations that will simplify and make your searching in the MLS just a little bit easier. So we're going to come down here underneath clear, matches, map, and results. We're going to come right down here where you see additional fields. And then we're going to click on this add button right here where we see add. Okay. So for your convenience, and this is also covered in the video, these are going to be the fields over here on the right that we need to look up and add to make this search easier. So it's very, very important that I search based on the individual usage for what that land can be used for. All right, so we're going to use usage. Second one is going to be remarks. If the agent doesn't supply information based on, for example, phase one, phase two, they don't disclose individual information into fields, I want to search based on how the agent's describing the transaction within the remarks. So I always recommend remarks. Another one is on-site utilities. we always want to know what has been done underneath the land, especially if I have a buyer that wants to buy a piece of land where we can build a warehouse. I need to know if electrical has been set up. We need to know if fiber optics has been set up for internet as well as water. I always recommend using on-site utilities and not to mention zoning information. So if I know individual zoning codes, for example, maybe I'm wanting to look up a small commercial property. I want to look up a property based on zoning codes such as C1, B1, if it's a business zoning. If I want to look up industrial land, maybe want to find a small industrial warehouse, I can use zoning information, searching I-1 as a point of example. Another one that I always recommend is searching based on the previous use of that land. Again, that's if the agent supplies that information. It's always good to know what the land was used for before, especially if I have a buyer that wants to maybe have that piece of land rezoned in specific. So if I ever have a buyer, right, that goes directly to the city, they go and have a hearing process. I want them to be able to know what it was previously used for if it's available. That way I know if there's flexibility to maybe take that agricultural land. I can see if it was residential before so that I can already know if there's flexibility so that we can maybe have it rezoned. Okay, last but not least, one more field that I always suggest to use is number of parcels. A lot of land sales have multiple sets of land included within that transaction. So I always suggest if I have a buyer, right, maybe they want to find a piece of land, several pieces of land where we can build up to 10 multifamily units. Would be good to use multiple parcels so I can find many pieces of land that we might be able to combine again through the city so that we can have multifamily units there, just as a point of reference. Okay, so let's recap real quick. I always recommend using usage, remarks, lot description, on-site utilities, zoning information, last use, and last but not least, number of parcels as well. Okay, when you add these fields, they stay here. They don't disappear. You don't have to click on a confirm button. They will stay there unless you click on one and then you click on remove. That's the only way that they're going to go away. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, what we're going to do first is we're going to pretend that we have a buyer specifically looking for agricultural land in the area of Miami-Dade. They're looking somewhere in the homestead area, almost said homeland, within the homestead area or the Redland area. And what I want to make sure that you guys know how to do is A, search in the MLS, either using the lot square footage or using the additional field that we added, lot description. And I want to make sure you guys know what to look for when you're analyzing land. It's very, very important, especially if I have a buyer that wants to buy land in a very rural area. I need to know potentially if utilities have been set up. So I'm going to mention good ways to find that. And we always want to know in the specific zoning district that that land falls under. Okay. So we're going to use active status. I'm going to turn off coming soon. And then I'm going to turn off active with contract as well. So we're just going to use active status for now. We're going to move over here in the middle where you see county. And then we're going to select first Miami-Dade County. Okay, perfect. Now, the investor that wants to buy the land in order to add maybe a farm, right? They want to make sure that it is a minimum of 1 acre up to somewhere around 2.5 acres. So 1 acre is 43,560 square feet. I'm going to mention later on when we do a multifamily search why we need to know and memorize an acre based on its square footage size. I'm going to show you in just a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go right here. I'm going to go into the system. I'm going to put 43,560 square foot, and then I'm going to tell the system to search up to 130,000 square foot within the Miami-Dade area. When I do that, it's letting me know that there is 88 matches, 88 listings where the agent did supply the lot square footage. Okay. Now, alternatively, because I also want to make sure I mention, I teach as a troubleshooter. Before being an instructor with the board, I used to help you guys in the MLS department, and I don't want you stuck. Okay. So that one gave me 88. If I come down to lot description and I click on 1 to 2.5 acres, I actually get a lot more listings. I went from 88 to now 132 matches. So it looks like to me the field that I would use more often would be the lot description. However, an agent may have used the lot square footage and may not have supplied information into the lot description field. So, what I always suggest that you do is when you're searching, first search using the lot square footage, and then I would search separately using the lot description. I would not, however, suggest to use both. Why? Why do I say that? If you use both the lot square footage and the lot description, what you're going to find is only the listings where the agent supplied information into both sections. That's why I want to make sure I tell you, you have this additional option, lot description, that we can add, and it does typically give us a little bit of some more listings. So I'm going to go to lot description real quick. I am going to click on 1 to 2.5 acres right here, and we're going to go right here to usage. And again, that buyer's looking for land that we can use specifically for agricultural use, maybe for farming. So I'm going to go right here where you see usage. I'm going to click on unimproved agricultural, recreation, and mobile home. A lot of land based on use. When it comes to agricultural land, there might also be an option for recreational use and mobile home. So we're going to use this category. And we're also going to use this option where we see income livestock. Okay, so as you can see, I just made multiple selections in a pick list. If you do not know how to make multiple selections in a pick list, all you have to do on your keyboard is you hold down Control. If you have a PC, and if you have a Mac like me, you hold down Command. And then what that's going to allow me to do is make multiple selections within the pick list that I'm using. Okay, for now, I'm not going to use on-site utilities. Later on, we will use this field in order to find land that may have utilities already done underneath. Why I'm not clicking on it is I want to potentially find raw land, and I want to make sure that you know how to analyze the land, including the zoning district, but more importantly, I want to make sure that you know how to figure out if there has been any utility set up without having to necessarily use this filter. Okay, because you're going to run into that problem more often than not. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and use these 20 matches. I'm going to click on results. All right, and first, what we're going to do before we look at individual land is we're just going to quickly build a land grid so that we can see everything pertinent to each one of these transactions. Okay, so when it's commercial land just by itself, the price will tell you the type of transaction. So if I find this piece of land right here at 344 Southwest 202 Second Ave, right here it's priced at 1,000. What that's in reference to is the cost right here in order to rent or lease that individual piece of land. So they're letting us know that it is 3 acres right here, and it is currently available for lease at 1,000. When it's for sale, it's going to show up here in the price. So for example, I have this one right here. The address right there is 24XX Southwest 199th Ave. It is for sale at 245,000. Later, once we get into the commercial improved, I'm going to touch on price per square foot so we understand when that comes into play. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Okay, what we're going to do next is we're going to build a grid so we can see more information about these individual sales. Okay, we're going to come over here where you see address. I'm going to move my mouse into the open space. And what we're going to do is it's always good to know, especially when it comes to land, we want to click in the column. We want to insert the individual city. Why do I say that? It's very important for me to know if this piece of land is through a city. What I mean by city is I need to know if it's through, for example, Homestead, Miami, or if it's in unincorporated Dade County, especially when it comes to land. If the land falls under a city, for example, Miami Homestead, it means that I need to go to the individual city website in order to find their zoning districts. If the land is in unincorporated Dade County, I need to go to the county website in order to locate the zoning districts. Okay, very important that I mention that. So what I'm going to go ahead and do real quick, just real quick, I'm going to put this in a chat so everyone has access to a couple of links. Some of you may have this from the commercial land class, but I'm just going to go ahead and put this in a chat real quick. So if the piece of land falls directly in unincorporated, for example, Miami-Dade, what we need to do in order to look up what we can build on that land, we need to go directly to the county's website. So I'm just going to put this in a chat right here, miamidade.gov/zoning districts. That's going to allow me, as I look up the land, once I find the zoning district, it's going to let me know our setbacks, including the type of properties that we can build there. Okay, so we're going to circle back on that in just a moment. Okay, so we're going to go right back into the MLS. I just wanted to put that in the chat. Again, that's if it falls under unincorporated Dade County. We want to go to the county's website. If it's in Homestead, we want to go to Homestead website. If it's in Miami, we would want to go to the city website as well. Okay, if you take the land class, I'm building a guide for everyone. I should be able to get it done today. So if you do take that land class, you will have access to a guide that I'm building per city, which will include GIS maps, so we can look up individual zoning districts. And of course, through Muni Code, we're going to be able to look up development codes, but more specifically, definitions, so that I can familiarize myself with what a C1 district is, or for example, what is a B2 district? If you're not familiar with that, I do suggest to take that land mastery class. You will receive this guide. When you do so, it's going to have a lot of great information. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and do is, now that we have city added, we're going to also add over here on the left where you see ML number. We're going to insert the number of parcels. It's always good to know if it's a multiple land deal. If there's multiple parcels included, multiple folio numbers, I always want to make sure that I have that access here. Okay. The other thing, very, very important, because I do typically have a lot of residential agents that take these classes that are interested in commercial real estate. So one thing I want to make sure I mention to my residential agents that want to get into maybe some land deals, think about it. You do want to take not just the commercial land mastery class, but you also want to take classes from other commercial instructors, including Chepe. He has an amazing commercial series. And you also, I do suggest to take Jose Garrido's commercial land classes as well. That way, you can get into a niche that a lot of agents don't get into. A lot of agents get their licenses in order to sell property, right? And there's just not that much competition when it comes to commercial land. So I do suggest to take that land mastery class, but also take some additional commercial land classes so that you can get into a niche, right? Okay. So one thing I want to stress just real quick to my residential agents, very important, is if I cannot see an address, which is typical of land sales, a lot of land doesn't always have an address. Sometimes we have to go to the county record in order to pull up the longitude and latitude to get there. The other thing I need to stress is a lot of land can be, especially if it's agricultural, which is what we're looking up now. A lot of the time, we may have to go across different types of land to get to that individual piece of land when we're working with that customer. I always recommend to take advantage of this field here where it says road. Very important I mention that for my residential agents, especially if I have, for example, a Mercedes. So, for example, this one right here priced at 430,000. I do have to go through a county road, a gravel lime rock road to get there, and in some instances, I may have to go across a private road with, of course, permission in order to see it. Okay. The other amazing thing within the MLS is I might also be able to see any improvements. So if I have a customer that wants to buy that land and already have maybe a barn set up, I have access to some of those details located here on the right. Okay. All right. So I'm going to move over real quick. We're going to go right here where you see zoning. Okay. We have different codes, as you can see. So if I want to look up the meaning of GU, if I go directly into the Miami-Dade County's website, maybe I'm not familiar with what that means. I can go right into the website, go to agricultural and interim districts, click on GU, and then what that's going to do is tell me exactly what we can do with that piece of land, including the lot coverage, any setbacks, as you can see. As I go down, it's going to let me know if we can have utility sheds, if I can use it for a home business operation. So it's letting me know right here, there is an option for a home office is permitted, as well as an ancillary unit, which is an additional dwelling unit to residential use. It gives me minimum requirements for the fencing size, wall, and hedges, and not to mention if I want to have a carport, right? It gives me information on the minimum size of a carport as well. And if I want to use it for boating and RV, I have information for that. You can park a boat, but not a recreational vehicle RV temporarily for 2 hours, but not in the public right of way. However, you can store either or both on your lot as provided in section 3320. So this is great information for me to work with if I'm working directly with that potential buyer. But more importantly, so I know those individual zoning districts, including what we can do with individual pieces of land. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm going to go right back into Matrix. Let's move over real quick. All right, and I'm going to select a piece of land just for us to look at. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go into this one right here, priced at 245,000. It is exactly at 43,560 square foot, so it does hit 1 acre. And I'm going to click directly on that listing number. Okay, first thing I always suggest when you're analyzing commercial land is you want to see if there's any attachments. Very important that I mention that. Attachments will let me know if the current owner has, for example, submitted plans directly to the city in order to maybe have the land rezoned. I can also see, very important, I can check for attachments to see if there's any information on the deed, including covenants. I want to make sure I mention that. Covenants is going to let me know if there's any deed restrictions that may apply to that land, including if I might not be able to modify that piece of land after purchase. So it's very important when you're working a land deal to understand zoning, but most importantly, if there's any covenants or deed restrictions on that piece of land. The other thing that we want to do is know if the buyer purchases this land, I need to know potentially if there is any utilities underneath that land. So I'm going to teach you guys a good, quick little way to look that up. Okay, before we do that though, they're mentioning here under the description, it is a 1 acre lot currently zoned for agricultural use in rezoning process to single family usage. So they didn't add an attachment, but they are letting me know that they did have a zoning hearing directly with the city. They're having it rezoned for single family use, which could increase the individual price after purchase. Second property available, same size, neighboring lot to the north. Okay, so they're letting us know that this looks like it could be a potential two-folio transaction. Okay, it was priced at 295. They have lowered it currently at 245. Okay, so if I'm working with a buyer, very important that I mention this. I'm working with a buyer and I want to know if utilities have been set up and it's not clear inside of the listing. What I always suggest to do is to go into the county appraiser's website or go directly into IMAP. You can do so by clicking on the folio number, and you want to know, very, very important thing that I mentioned, you want to know the land use, and you do want to know if that piece of land falls under a subdivision. Okay, so I'm going to get there. I'm going to explain what I mean by that in just a second. Okay, so it is letting me know that this piece of land does have, it has its own individual folio number. It is in unincorporated. Let me go ahead and let that person in. Okay, it is in unincorporated Miami-Dade, specifically in 33031. I do have the owner's name, their tax mailing address, and it is letting me know, according to we have a lot of folks coming in today. Okay, we do have information directly from the state of Florida that this is zoned specifically 99. Currently, it is an acreage that is not classified, but it is AG, meaning it is for agricultural use. Okay, further down right here from land use, this information is coming directly from the county. It's letting me know that this is zoned specifically, according to Miami-Dade County, as 9981, agricultural land. Okay, the other thing I got to stress when we're analyzing land, residential or commercial, we always want to know if that land falls into a subdivision. If it doesn't fall within a subdivision, there's a good possibility that there's zero utilities set up, such as electrical, water, septic, if I don't see that it falls within a subdivision. Again, subdivision means that the land was subdivided within a individual development area, and there could be some type of utility set up. Okay. Now, the other thing that I suggest when it comes to figuring out if there is any electrical available in the area is go directly into the county record. I would always look at individual land that's near it, right? I would look for, if I can virtually, I would try to find if there's any manholes. Very important. I mentioned that if there's any manholes there. And I would also look to see if there's other commercial property or maybe residential in the area. And of course, I would look for electrical lines nearby as well. Okay, so it is letting me know here, now that I'm analyzing it directly from the county appraiser's website, it does look like there is some properties near here letting me know running electrical to that individual piece of land. If it's not available, it shouldn't be too hard. And it is letting me know that there should be fiber optics. If I do see properties here, there should be some kind of internet available that may need to be ran directly to the land in order for that to be available. Okay, let me jump into chat real quick. Oh, absolutely, Shadeline. Absolutely. All right, we're going to keep going, guys. We're going to keep going. All right. When you do go to the county website, the other thing I want to make sure I mention is if it's in, for example, Miami-Dade, go here to the land information. This is going to give me its individual zoning district here that I can look up. So this falls under the actual zoning district of agricultural use. So I would go here. I would go here to look up what we can do with that land. And it is letting me know specifically the use code is 9,000 for agricultural use. So again, this is the zoning district. This is the individual use code that we have available here. All right, guys, we're going to keep going. So let's go right back into the MLS. We're going to go right back into the single line display. And then we're going to go right back into criteria. Okay. So we're going to clear. We're going to clear, telling the system I want to start all over. I'm going to click on active, but this time we're going to look in Broward County. Okay. This little search that we're going to do next is we're going to find a piece of land where the buyer can build multifamily property. Okay. So we're going to touch a little bit on some setbacks. And we're also going to discuss a little bit on how to calculate how many units could be potentially built on top of that land. Okay, so I'm going to go to active. We're going to go to county just for this real quick. And then we're going to click on Broward County for this example. All right, and then we're going to come down to the section right here, usage. All right, and then we're going to select for this little demo, unimproved multifamily, 5 or more units, just for this quick little demonstration. Okay, so we're going to pretend that we have a buyer. They want to build maybe multiple apartment units, right? Maybe several maybe duplexes, triplexes, or more. We're going to go to usage and then select unimproved multifamily, 5 or more units. Okay. All right. Perfect. So that's going to give me 38 matches. Okay. We're going to use the lot description. We're going to look for an acreage starting at 1 to 2.5 acres, and then also 2.5 up to 5 acres. Again, we're going to hold down to that control button or command button to make these selections. Okay, so we are coming back with 10 matches that are available. Okay, from there, I'm going to click on results. All right, perfect. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to select a piece of land to analyze. Okay, but one thing I want to just stress real quick is over here on zoning, you're going to be able to tell exactly the individual zoning code, including what that land could be used for. So if I see RM, RM means residential multifamily. So if I see 18 after that, it means we could build up to 18 units per acre. I said something very important, per acre. So we're going to do a little bit of some calculation in a moment. If I see something like B2, it means it's in a business district. And we would want to look up using either a GIS map or by going to the City of Davies website in order to figure out what can be built there. Okay. All right. For this sample, we're going to use this one in Fort Lauderdale. It's priced at $650,000, specifically in a zoning district of RM10, meaning within the district for residential multifamily, 10 units per acre. Okay, so we're going to come right over here. I'm going to move my mouse over here to the left, and then we're going to click on the listing number. Okay, so it is priced at $650,000. We do have attachments that are available. We'll look at those in a moment. But what I want to know is the lot square footage. And I also want to know if there's multiple parcels included possibly within this transaction. So the agent's saying rare assemblage opportunity in Fort Lauderdale, now priced at just $80,000 per lot. Okay. Following a recent $100,000 price reduction. Offering includes 5 adjacent parcels. So they're letting us know that it's a 5-folio transaction. Okay. Why do I mention that? I need to make sure I stress this. The agent, when he listed this listing, he created the listing using one of the parcels included within the transaction. But the agent's letting us know here that it is a multifolio transaction. Okay. And if I go to the attachments, what that's going to allow me to do is I can access the individual survey that was provided. And it is letting me know here that it's the following folios. These following parcels are included within the transaction. Okay. Now, what I would want to do is contact the agent to know if the current owner has contacted the city in order to combine all of these folios, right? Why do I say that? If they're not combined yet, I would have to analyze each individual parcel to figure out what we could build on each individual parcel. So, for example, the one that the agent listed is this folio number, right? And if I'm not going to, as the buyer, have the city combine all of them, I need to figure out what I could build on each parcel. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of some math just so we know how to calculate that. So if I just take this one parcel that ends in 0160 and I want to build multifamily units on it, I need to calculate that. Okay, so we're going to pull up a calculator real quick. All right, and we're going to get started. So it is letting me know that the lot square footage that they have here is 35,800. Okay, so what I need to do in order to figure out how many units we might be able to build, at least for this parcel, if it's not going to be combined with the others, is I need to take that lot square footage, which is 35,800. I then need to go right here. I need to divide by 43,560, which is 1 acre. What that does is it gives me the percentage on how big this lot is in comparison to a full acre when it comes to square foot. So it's letting me know that that would be 82%. So if I want to calculate how many units I can build just at least on this specific parcel, right, is I take that 0.82, I can confirm the zoning district, which is RM10, right? I multiply by 10, that's going to give me the potential amount of units that we can build. Okay. So we need to double check though. So they're saying lot square footage is 35,800. That could be for all of them, right? For this particular folio, just click on it real quick. Okay, this one by itself is 12,512. So it's a good assumption that that is for the entire transaction for all of the folios combined. Okay, so it is letting me know based on my calculation, we could do roughly around 8 units. Agent here is saying, let's go right here. Supporting, there it is, up to 8 single family homes or 9 townhomes. They're going to need to be cluster style, which most likely they're going to need to be very close to each other. Each lot holds a separate folio. There it is. And there is a potential to subdivide one parcel to create up to 9 units. So they're letting us know we do have 8, but if we subdivide one of them, we might be able to get 9 out of the deal. Okay, just wanted to quickly demystify how you guys can calculate, working directly with maybe a developer, how we can calculate how many units could be built there. So it is a good assumption here that lot square footage is for all of the folios together, guys. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Okay. So we're going to go right back into the agent single line display. We're going to go right back into criteria. We're going to clear. We're going to clear. All right. We're going to add active back. All right, and we're going to do another search. We're going to pretend that we're looking, we have a buyer. They want to buy a piece of land where they can build a warehouse. Okay, but I'm going to ask you guys, where do you want to search? Do you guys want to search in Miami-Dade? Miami-Dade? or do you guys want to search in Broward? And then Charlene asked per acre is very important. Yes, that's why I have to stress why it's important to go here under lot square footage. You have to know and memorize your lot size based on square footage. Very, very important when you're a commercial agent. All right. Charlene said Miami, and then Isa said Broward. Okay. All right. We'll look in both. So we'll go to county. We'll do Broward County and as well as Miami-Dade. Okay. I got two people with the Broward. All right. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to use both Broward County, Miami-Dade right here. We're going to use active status. All right. And then we're going to move down into usage, which is extremely important. And then we're going to move down and then we're going to click on unimproved industrial, manufacturing, and warehouse. That should put me generally within, for example, I districts. Okay. We're going to say that the buyer needs 1 to 2.5 acres. So that's going to bring it down to 13 matches. And we're going to use the on-site utilities. We're going to check to see if the agent did supply for electric, to see if electric's been set up, cable TV, which is fiber optics. And let's also check and then select water as well. Okay. Now, when you're in the MLS, for example, I selected cable TV, electric, and I also selected water. A lot of these fields, they default to an or option. Okay, so or means of the 7 listings I'm coming back, some of them might have cable TV, which is your fiber optics. Some of them might have electric, and then some of them might have water set up. So if these are absolute needs of that developer, right, I should click on and. Okay, so and tells me that there's 0 individual pieces of land where we have water, cable, TV, and electric. So that's very important when I'm working with that buyer for me to be able to tell them what has been set up or not. Okay, so we're going to keep this just nice and loose a little bit. We're just going to use electric for now. So I'm going to turn off cable, TV, and water just to make sure we have some results to look at. All right, and then from there, I'm going to go here to results. All right, and because all of these units are following within a city, what we would want to do is know the address. We would want to know the address. We would want to, especially if I'm a new agent, I need to look up and learn these individual zoning districts. Very, very important that you know how to look that up. Okay, easiest way to do that, I would say, is using a GIS map. Okay, so we're just going to quickly, just for this point of reference, we'll use Davie, Florida. This listing priced at a beautiful 3.2 million. What we want to do is, it is zoned specifically in an A1 district. According to the agent, they're saying that the usage of the land could be for unimproved business, commercial, industrial, manufacturing, warehouse. But what I would want to do is just double check that information. I would want to double check that information. Best thing to do is to use a GIS map. Each city has a GIS map. And then what you would want to do is go directly into that city's map for the zoning districts. Once you pull it up from there, you would access it, and then you're going to be able to look up the individual use. Okay, so let me go ahead and do this real quick. All right, looks like I got to fix that link. Okay, let me go here. Let's go down right here. Here's a good one, Gridix. Gridix is absolutely one of my absolute favorite websites to use for that. I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat just so everyone has access to it. All right, boom. Okay, so I'm going to go here, right? I'm going to take the property address there. You go into either the city or directly through, for example, Gridix creates their own GIS maps. And then I can, once I find it, it will tell me the zoning districts. but what we might be able to do with that individual piece of land. So let me jump in the chat real quick. See what Ursula is saying. This is assuming that the listing agent have, yeah, that's my point, Ursula. And I'm trying to say it nicely. So what we always want to make sure that we do is yes, we can look to see what the agent said in the MLS, but we would want to double check directly through the city's website or through Gridix in order to make sure that that is indeed correct. So yes, that's the practice that we're doing right now. Okay, so it's going to mention here. It does fall under the business use, specifically business B2 districts as well as A1, so that is correct. And then we can go directly into the website to find the individual uses through Davie, Florida's municipal code, and then we can see the exact use. So we would go here specifically to chapter 27 through zoning, and then what that will do once I'm there, that's going to let me know what we can do with that individual piece of land, including setbacks and limitations and much, much more. Okay. All right. Let me jump into chat real quick. Michaela, are you able to share the land usage chart with us as well? If Michaela, if you take that land mastery class, I'm giving you guys a little taste today of our land mastery class. If you email me, I'll do it like this. If you email me, I'm going to put my email in the chat. It's Tyson, which is Tyson at miamire.com. If you email me, I'll send you the list. It's not done yet. I'm still building it out, but email me. I'll give you what I have. Just request then that email. When you're done building it, send me the final version, and then I'll send that to you guys. All right, Ursula, I meant for the criteria you specified in your query. Okay, if you could give me a little bit more information on that, Ursula, I'm sorry. All right, perfect. Go ahead and email me, guys, if you want access to the zoning GIS maps and the zoning definitions as well. Okay, so we're going to keep going, guys. We're going to keep going. All right. So the main takeaway under the commercial land section, so we're going to wrap it up real quick under the commercial land section. The biggest takeaway, guys, is utilize these fields, usage, remarks, lot description, on-site utilities. If you're new specifically to commercial, you're going to be able to eventually start using the zoning districts, the zoning information. You can look up the previous use of that land and searching based on the amount of parcels included within the transaction. Okay, so what we're going to go ahead and go into next is we will leave the commercial land section. We're going to go here next into the commercial improved and industrial section. Next up is we're going to break down very important commercial terms. It is important to know your commercial terms. Agents do speak when it comes to commercial. They do describe properties using very specific building types when they mention that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out real quick. And there's a couple that I just want to pull up a little document for, just so you guys can see it, and I'll put it in the chat so everyone has access to it. All right. There's just a couple that I just want to give you guys some square footage information on as we go through it. Okay, let me just jump into chat real quick. Juan, how do we know if the zoning can be changed? You have to contact the city. Specifically, you have to go through a hearing process. So you would have to go directly to the city. What you have to do is specifically contact them. Usually you have to have a meeting. And then what they're going to need for you to do is stress why that land should be rezoned. You can in some websites. For example, the city of Miami, if you go to Miami 21, what I love about the city of Miami is you can actually see the previous use of that land. So if the land, for example, was zoned for multifamily and you have a buyer that wants to purchase it, right? And you want to have them rezone it specifically for maybe single family, not multifamily, maybe single family. Some cities will allow you to see the previous use, and then you can have that included as a way to have it maybe rezoned. But that's always going to require a zoning hearing. The other thing I just want to cover real quick when it comes to land, if we can't identify if there's any utilities, Even if we're checking to see if it's under a subdivision, right? And there's no indication, we can contact the city. We would need to go to the city's website, and then we have to request a letter of availability. That letter of availability will tell us what has been done underneath that land, including electric, septic, fiber optics for internet. Again, that's by requesting to the city through a letter of availability. Okay. Once you have that zoning hearing, what that does is that gives you an entitlement, including approval, so that you can modify that land. So that's the main thing. We need to get from the zoning hearing in order to have entitlement to use it or maybe a different use. Okay, so we're going to keep going, guys. What we're going to do next is I want to make sure that we have a good understanding of different types of commercial property. Okay, so we have right here commercial, improved, and industrial. So as I mentioned earlier, under this category, I can find commercial property available for sale or for lease. Okay, so under the property type, there's different types of commercial property that I want to make sure we know. So we have adult congregate. So adult congregate is going to be your adult living facilities, or sometimes we call them your adult daycares as well. So adult congregate, that's going to be your adult living facilities, adult daycare facilities as well. Okay, there's also commercial property, which is called an anchored center. Now, an anchored center is going to be your Publix style commercial property, as well as your Home Depot style commercial property. I'm just going to give you guys a quick little visual on what an anchored center looks like. Let me just go to Google real quick. Oh, there's Publix right there. That's funny. TJ Maxx, Dick's Sporting Goods. That's going to be specifically an anchored center, as we can see. All right. Now, as we keep going, we also have the ability to look up apartments, automotive buildings, and then we have two other categories, which is building service and then building trades. Okay. So when you use the MLS and you want to look up very specific style of a commercial property, but specifically different types of commercial businesses. You want to make sure you know the difference between building service and building trades. So building service is going to be your commercial properties that are designed specifically for different types of commercial businesses. So building service means that's going to be your companies that do, for example, all of the interior parts of your home, specifically, for example, the life systems of your home. So building service means your HVAC companies, right? Your security alarm companies within your home, as well as electric as well. So again, building service is going to be anyone that deals within the life systems of your home, including internet, TV, HVAC, the security alarms in your home. That's going to fall under the building service category. Building trades are going to be style of buildings or commercial businesses. Building trades is going to be the individual companies that deal with the different parts of your home. What I mean by that is different types of businesses that deal with the flooring of your home, right? The tiling of your home, replastering your home, redoing the kitchen of your home. So that's going to be your contractors as well. They're going to fall under the building trades. So anyone that deals with the redevelopment of the interior or exterior of the home, they're going to fall directly under building trades. Okay, so again, that's the flooring companies, tiling companies, anyone that redoes your kitchen as well, that's going to fall here under the building trades. We can also find within the commercial MLS, churches, commercial and residential income. But I want to make sure we understand what this means, because the minimum requirement for the listing to become commercial, it means that there's a minimum of 5 units for sale. So commercial residential income, there can be multiple sets of residential property for sale. So commercial residential income could mean that there is multiple sets of duplexes, triplexes, or for example, quadplexes. But the minimum is 5 units in total that are for sale. So I might find 3 sets of 4 units under this category. I might find 3 sets of 2 units, duplexes, under the commercial residential income. I just need to make sure that we understand that one because it is a little confusing. I can also find specifically condominium zoned for commercial. I can also find properties available for consumer service. I can find convenience stores. I can also find warehouses, such as dock height building. What that means is I can find, for example, a warehouse, or I can find, for example, a space specifically for mixed use as well, where a semi, when they're offloading the cargo, the area where the semi offloads the cargo directly to that warehouse, it's off of the ground so that the semi can back up and then offload cargo. That's going to be the meaning of dock height building. If I want to find a commercial building that's just by itself, it's not attached to another commercial property, for example, Walgreens, CVS, I would use freestanding. If I want to find warehouses that are in a heavy manufacturing district, my larger warehouses, or spaces where we can use it as maybe a print shop, maybe we're using it to develop. I have heavy manufacturing, but something I just got to say, my opinion, is a lot of our heavy manufacturing industrial spaces or warehouses, a lot of a lot of heavy manufacturing business owners, what they're doing, especially since the pandemic, they're taking these large warehouses or manufacturing spaces, they're actually gutting the warehouse space. And if they're allowed to, what they're doing is they're turning a lot of these heavy manufacturing spaces into flex spaces. Why do I say that? How we and I'm trying to word it where it's not too crazy. Uh, the pandemic, since the pandemic, a lot of how we create, t-shirts, how we use spaces for maybe, for example, carpentry, right? A lot of that type of business is no longer being sought after by renters and by buyers. So if you're a commercial agent and you have a owner of a large warehouse or even a small warehouse where it's primarily used for, again, heavy manufacturing, if it's okay with the association, because a lot of large warehouses, they fall within an association, which may require approval. Have them see if there's an option to maybe gut out the heavy manufacturing part of the warehouse so that it might be able to be used for a flex space. Why do I say that? If they're not using it themselves, they're using it as a income producing location. The goal is to turn it into a flex space so that the tenant could use it for different things. Heavy manufacturing spaces are now being used for podcasts, a lot of them for podcasting. I know that's odd. A lot of them, especially towards the Medley and Doral area, a lot of them are being turned into areas where you can use for paintball. I know that's weird, paintballing, not to mention pickleball. And I'm sure you've seen them. A lot of them are being used for soccer, football locations as well. So think about that. If you're working directly with an owner of a heavy manufacturing location, have them look at the option to maybe have it reclassified as a flex space. I'm going to discuss in a little bit what a flex space is. Okay, let me jump into chat real quick. Aileen, where category would apply to a 55 or older community? So I would go here under the remarks and then you can specify, you can enter the minimum information there. You could put the 55 or older here under the description. Okay, so we're going to keep going. I want to make sure that we understand all of these different property types. Okay, we can also find under the category here, we can find a hotel motel. We can also find properties that are for industrial use, light manufacturing, which is going to be my smaller warehouses, my smaller hub warehouses. I can find malls as well. So mall enclosed means I can find malls. I can find marinas, and I can also find offices designed for medical office space. But I just want to quickly go over the differences of medical office in comparison to special purpose property, because there's a little bit of a difference between special purpose and medical office. So if I have a buyer that wants to buy a location that, again, it's a commercial building that is designed specifically for medical use, I would use this option. But if I have a buyer that wants to buy a large location, such as a hospital, I don't use medical office. I would instead use special purpose. Okay. Special purpose property are typically going to be your large hospitals, such as Baptist Hospital, Nicholas Children Hospital, as another point of reference. Special purpose is also for your county maintained buildings, as well as in any city maintained buildings. So if I have a buyer that wants to buy a small office location for medical use, I use medical office. They want a very big hospital, I go here under special purpose. Special purpose again means that there is special requirements directly through the city in order for that piece of land or a property to be used. Okay, as we go down, we also have a section where we can search for mini warehouses, smaller warehouses, as well as mobile parks and RV parks, non-for-profit spaces as well. But I want to make sure I go into a guide for this one real quick, because some folks get non-profit and non-for-profit just a little bit confused. So let's go here real quick. So non-profit means commercial real estate, non-for-profit space, which refers to leasing or owning a property used for tax exemption. They're also for mission-driven organizations such as charities, foundations, educational institutions, religious entities as well, and advocacy groups. These spaces can be located in a variety of asset classes, most commonly offices, medical, education, and in some instances, special use facilities. I'm just going to go ahead and put this in the chat so everyone has access to that little definition there. All right, and we're going to keep going, guys. We're going to keep going. Okay, now there's other things we could look up. We also have, as we go down, other type. So there is commercial properties where the agent's not sure how to classify it. It might be a mixed use property, right? Maybe there's a use for it for office use. Maybe there's also a use for it for residential. They might classify it as other type. All right, the next one we have access to is also professional as well. So professional is going to be properties designed specifically for office use. But when I say office use, I mean in specific high-end office use in specific, such as where you might have lawyers in specific. It is designed as a higher design, and they're a little bit more, I would say, expensive. Okay. We also have the ability to look for residential multifamily. So again, that is where there's a minimum of 5 units that is for sale, where there might be 2 multifamily units right here, 2 other multifamily units across the street, and then 2 other multifamily units. So we have residential multifamily. Again, the minimum is 5 units there, but there's maybe separate areas where we have properties for sale. We also have that for residential single family, restaurant bar, retail spaces, schools, Whole shopping centers, meaning the whole shopping center is available for sale. We also have showrooms. And as I mentioned earlier, special purpose has specific zoning requirements, and they're typically reserved for hospitals, city buildings, county buildings as well. We also have store and warehouse combinations. So those are usually going to be a 60-40% split. What I mean by a 60 to 40% split is it's usually roughly around 60% store space and then 40% warehouse space. As to where a flex space is typically 80% office space and then 20% warehouse space. So I want to make sure I just make sure that that's very clear. Store warehouse combination buildings, they're usually 60 to 40% or 50 to 40%. It just depends. Or 50-50, I should say. That means it's half warehouse and half store. As to where a flex space is primarily an office location. It's usually 70% office or 80% office, 20% warehouse or 30% warehouse space. Okay, flex spaces are what's on fire right now, guys, because if I'm buying this property, a tenant can use it for different types of things. Okay, so as we go down, there is a category specifically for restaurant. Roxanne, I may have missed that one. It's right here under restaurant bar, right there. That's again, if they want to buy the location. As I go down, we also have the ability to look up shopping centers. Let's go down, tavern bars, warehouses that typically, or offices that typically have unimproved interiors. Usually they're just concrete block with inside of the commercial property, meaning if the buyer purchases, they have to actually do the design and building of maybe a office location inside of it as a point of reference. So an unimproved interior typically means that it's concrete slab and that buyer has to design, build the office location in there or the commercial business inside of that location. We can also find warehouse spaces as well. And final category is wholesale. But I want to make sure that we understand what wholesale is. I do have a description on that one here. Stores that sell things in bulk straight from a manufacturer, such as, for example, Sam's Club. You have Amazon, right? So Amazon, what they do is they're a distributor. What they do is they sell everything directly and ship directly locally. That's exactly what also wholesalers do. So what they do is if they're a company that sells t-shirts, or maybe they are a company that has food, right? Poultry, chicken, right? What they're doing is they're getting that directly from a distribution company, and then they're selling it here locally, but they're doing that in bulk. So that's the meaning there of wholesale. Okay. All right, guys. Now, when it comes to searching under the commercial, improved, and industrial section, I do recommend incorporating these following fields: number of units. If I'm looking for a rental, very important that I know the minimum lease that's allowed, remarks, lot square footage, zoning information, building square foot, year built, and then maximum ceiling height. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pull off 2 searches within the next 5 to 6 minutes. And then we're going to take a 30-minute break before we go into the second class. What we're going to go ahead and do is I want to go ahead and next, I want to demystify the meaning of price per square foot. I just want to make sure we understand what that means when it comes to improved commercial property. So I'm going to pretend that I have a tenant that I'm representing. What they want to do is they need an office location in the Doral area that's available for lease. I want to make sure that you know how to calculate price per square foot when it comes to that lease price. So we're going to use active, coming soon, active with contract, lease. We're going to look in Doral just to use this as a demonstration. And then under property type, we're going to select office space. And then I'm going to say that the customer mentioned that the size of the office they need to move into needs to be around, let's make it a little wide. We'll say 5,000 square foot up to, let's do 8,000 square foot. Okay. Oh, no, we're only coming back with one. So we need to be a little bit flexible there. Let's say 8,000 or less on the building size. I just need some results in order to show you what I need to demonstrate next. So we're going to say 28 matches, building square foot 8,000 and less. I'm going to go right here to results. Okay. So I want to make sure we know how to calculate price per square foot next. Okay. So if I see this price right here at 10,080, that's going to be the price monthly. But if I go to current price, I flip this and I see $18, $21. That does not mean it's a deal. I like to make that joke. It doesn't mean that it's a deal. What that indicates is the lease, the price per square foot based on the area that that tenant's going to occupy. So what I need to know is the area, the total area that the tenant would be, that's going to be included within the lease agreement. So I recommend finding out what the maximum leasable square foot is. And then what we can do with this is figure out the monthly expense for that tenant. So I have this one right here, office space designed for professional use. If I need to calculate how much it's going to cost on a monthly basis, is I take the $18 price per square foot. So I take the $18 price per square foot, I multiply that by the space that they're going to occupy, which is 3,045. That's going to be the office size. Once I multiply that, what that does is that's going to give me the cost in order to occupy the property annually. What I would do from there is divide by 12. That's going to give me their monthly expense in order to occupy the space. So annually, it's going to be $54,000 to occupy the space. And then monthly, we're looking at $4,567.50 in order to pay that lease on a monthly basis. I'm just curious to see what this looks like. It looks very nice. Okay. This is what I meant by professional, by the way. Designed for office use, as we can see. Okay. All right, guys. So now we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going. Before I let you guys go, there's one more search that I just want to show you. Okay. So the next one is in order to calculate what is called a GOI, NOI, cap rate. I'm going to explain how to calculate that. But for this demonstration, just real quick, we're going to use multifamily. I'm going to pretend that I have a buyer that wants to purchase multifamily units in Broward County in Miami-Dade. That's for sale. We're going to do this real quick, guys, just real quick. All right. We're going to come down here to type of property, income multifamily. And then I'm going to say that they're looking for 8 multifamily units up to 90, but on purpose. Okay, so I'm going to go to results real quick. We're almost done. All right. Just want to go over how to calculate that. This is in the video, by the way. This is in the video, by the way. Okay. So what I'm going to add is I need to know how many units there are per transaction right here. So it's letting me know that this $1.49 million deal, we do get 9 multifamily units included within that transaction. So what I want to know, if I'm working with a buyer, I need to know their gross operating income. Their gross operating income is how much they're bringing in for the rent for these units before expenses. So GOI is everything they're bringing in, including the rental for all of the units or any other source of income. If they're charging for the washer and dryer facilities, right? If they're charging for parking spaces, right? I want to know their gross operating income. The other thing we need to know, if it's available, is their expenses. Expenses is, of course, going to be for insurance, vacancy loss, any type of expense. So I need to secure that so that I can calculate their net operating income. So GOI, as I mentioned, it's everything that they're bringing in before expenses. All right. So when I take the gross operating income and then I minus that from their total expenses, I should have their net operating income. Right? Now, some of these we may need to go through the listings in order to see the individual expenses that they have listed here, including trash expenses, other sources of income, tax amount as well, just in case they may have forgot that. Okay, so if I want to calculate a cap rate, that's the main thing that I want to teach you guys, just real quick. In order to calculate a cap rate, once I know their gross operating income minus the expenses, that's going to give me their net operating income. So if I want to figure out the cap rate, I take the NOI, which is the net operating income. So I'm going to use this one as the demonstration, 208,300 right here. And then I divide that by the asking price. That will give me their individual cap rate. So it's letting me know that this is at a 6% cap rate, as we can see. All right, guys, just wanted to fit as much as I could. Everything that I went over that is in the class recordings within that link tree. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat just in case I had some folks miss that. All right, here's that link tree one more time. All right, if you're not scheduled for the 201, make sure that you contact the education department. I'm going to go ahead and put their email real quick in the chat. It's 305 468 7066. Just let them know that you want to register. And if you want to have access to the guide, that land guide that I'm creating, go ahead and email me. That is my email that I just put in the chat. And please take advantage of this link tree. What that does is it's going to give you access to the commercial resource guide, and you're going to be able to find all of the videos, including everything that we discuss today within the 101 and the 201 and all of the other commercial classes there. All right, guys, thank you so much for your time. In the afternoon, we're going to go into the business opportunity. I mean, not afternoon. I mean at 11:30. 11:30, we're going to go directly into the business opportunity section. We're going to run a CMA on a warehouse, and we're going to touch base also on commercial classifications, guys. All right. Thank you guys so much. And I look forward to seeing you in about 25 minutes. Go ahead and take a quick little cafecito break. Go ahead and grab your coladito, your agua, and we're going to get started at 11:30. I'm super excited. See you guys there. All right.